Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I am joined by Kelli Kilpatrick. She is phenomenal. She is one of my all-time favorite people. I don't know if I've told you that. I talk to her way too often, I think. So now we're just fast friends. I worked with her daughter when she was preparing for Miss Texas for many years, and then Kelli started a company.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even going to give too much of a backstory. I want you to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we're going to jump into more stories and fun.
So what I love about what you just said is some kind of a tribute to the history that we have together. We've known each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. And you're right. It started by you working with my oldest daughter, preparing for pageantry, but you've also worked with my youngest daughter just on life stuff, not even pageant prep.
And she's precious.
And she's precious. They
and
both
Taylor's
are.
precious too.
They
Shout out to
both are. They
Yes.
both are. So Taylor's the oldest and Parker's the youngest. What is awesome for me personally out of all that is that we have become friends. Mm-hmm. And we've become accountability partners on some aspects that I think are really important in both of our businesses. And you've been a strong supporter of my current efforts, which is what I think you'd like for me to talk a little bit about now. So, a little bit about me that you might not know.
I want to tell me all things.
I know. Tell me all things. So, I am the daughter of a farmer. / rancher, depends on the day, whichever term I use. And the reason why that's important is because a lot of my values, I would say most probably all of my values, and a lot of the lessons that I've learned in life that I've applied throughout my years of business actually trace back to those early roots, which were really strong family values for sure. So I'm the daughter of a farmer. I am educated as a female in the finance industry, and I did that a long time ago when chicks were not in finance classes. And that shaped a lot of who
Back
I
when
became.
chicks were called chicks.
Back when chicks were called chicks.
Yeah.
That shaped a lot of it shaped me in ways that I didn't even realize until recently. And then I had a very long 3-decade career in higher education, where when you look back on that is evidence of the fact that I grow people. I've been in the people growth business for a really long time. Most recently, I founded Kilpatrick College and Career, kind of taking all of the, I'm going to call it wisdom and experience that I've enjoyed over multiple decades and bringing that to life for clients and just informing my coaching with them through lived experiences.
What I love about what you do is you take someone who maybe they don't have a clue of what the college preparation process is like and walk them step by step through that process. And even if their parents went to college, were successful in college, graduated with multiple degrees, the process is different today than it was probably when they went. And so you really help dispel the myths and make it easier. It's not easy, but it's simpler when you have a system to follow. And I feel like you do that. You walk people step by step.
Yeah, so almost every parent that I talk to, like you said, whether they went to college or whether they never went to college, there's some things that those two subsets of parents have in common is that today's college admission experience is unlike ever in history. Parents who did go to college tell me, well, when I did go to college, which has been more than 2 decades ago, typically, it wasn't like this. Like, I applied to college. I applied to the colleges that were closest to me. I was admitted and I went to school.
Yeah.
And so today, not only is it complex, but it is incredibly competitive. And what I've been able to really help folks with is not just the navigation of the experience, which is really important in and of itself, because the minute that someone presses the submit button, I know exactly what's going to happen on the other side. And it's not what you think. most of the time, but kind of goes into a black hole, and I can actually bring that to life for a family and for a candidate and help them to understand also how to navigate that. And but not only can I tell them what it's like when they press the submit button, but I'm actually navigating my clients or coaching my clients through what really has turned into like a personal branding exercise, which an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old doesn't know the first thing about, nor should they.
Well, and what I loved, and I know Ashley's journey is going to be different. She's pursuing entrepreneurship. She's pursuing her business. She decided college wasn't for her. Yeah. However, and it may be for her later.
It's not for her right now.
But it was the process of getting in.
That's right.
That honestly, I think, unlocked part of the desire to pursue some of these things, because she started working with you before she found photography in the first place. Yeah. And I feel like it really did help just propel her forward to learn who she is, who she wants to be, what are her goals, what does she want to accomplish, and all of that. And what was great is you said our work's not over. So whether you're in school, out of school, whether you get in, whether you don't, like, I am still part of your partnership if you want me to be, which I thought was really cool. It's you are very much in with your clients all the way through.
Because it's about growing people. It's not about getting into college.
I love that.
Yeah. My work, whether someone is destined for college or not, whether someone, so let's just leave it right there for a second. Whether they're destined for college or not, the principles that I subscribe to are critically important as you are growing as a person along a continuum where there are things you can control and things you cannot control. And something that because I do help folks with the college admission journey. The folks that go to college, I support them in the college success journey, which is just as important as getting in. So getting in is,
even more so.
Yeah. Getting in is step number 1. Succeeding while you're there, step number 2. I help clients with the career success journey, both as they are looking for the next job, but really when I'm successful, I'm building skills that can help you manage a career for a lifetime. Right. Again, getting into the growing people part of what it is I'm really all about. And then I help entrepreneurs kind of wrap some frameworks around strategic planning efforts.
You do, and you helped me.
And
we're still working because I have work to do.
We are working on that. That was actually an unexpected, new and recent addition to my portfolio of offerings. Let me tell you how that came about.
Yeah,
how did that come about? Yeah. So I have. Like I would never ask somebody to coach with me if I also didn't believe in coaching. And you guys, I believe in coaching. I have had coaches. I've paid a lot of money for coaches. And I have invested. The best investment we can make is in ourselves. And I am living proof of that. Like I invest in myself a lot when it comes to skill development and coaching. And so I've joined masterminds where I'm elevated by other really amazing women that are around me, and recently, because of those efforts, I landed with a group of, there's 4 of us, who we don't pay to be accountability partners. Most everything else I've paid for, but we're an accountability group. We call ourselves the Goal-Getting Accountability Girl Gang.
Oh, I like it. The goal-getters. I love it.
The goal-getters.
The goal-getter girls.
The go-getter girls.
I love it.
Maybe we should call ourselves that. The go-getter girls. The GGGs. Yeah, the GGGs. Okay, there you go. Yeah. G cubed. I was like, that. I was about to go there. G to the 3rd power, G cubed, all the things.
I love it.
And we were having a conversation in November. We actually talk weekly. We were having a conversation in October. And I was saying to my girls, my tribe, You guys get your strategic plan in place because we're about to enter into 2024, and you don't want to wait until December to make that happen. And they were like, could you help us with that, Kelli? And I was like, sure. And so I became the teacher among in that context, among our accountability group. And while we were going through a very specified process that I had outlined, they looked at me and they were like, Kelli, you should do this for other people. Yes. Like, this is so valuable. And what's interesting about that aha moment for me is that there are lots of things that come natural to a lot of us, and we just think it's easy. And what we don't realize is that it's not natural and easy for other people. Mm-hmm. And so we can bring value to others and lift each other up. And a lot of times when I work with clients, I'm asking them, what are you passionate about? What's easy for you? And it's when they go about that process of self-discovery that they can really truly find the thing that they can get excited about putting their feet on the ground and doing every single day. Because I love helping women that are entrepreneurs who are doing great things, but without the structure and the planning. I love helping them to structure that and to have goals and to set in place with great intention and with great thought action plans, so that as they're doing vision casting, we do a lot of vision casting. Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? Think big. Because if you think big and fall short, you're still doing great things.
You're still bigger than you were.
You're still bigger than you were. Mm-hmm. But let's set some intentional steps and action plans that we can hold ourselves accountable to, that are measurable. I'm sure many of these things sound familiar to you, that are measurable, and let's put that on paper, and let's use that as our roadmap for the year ahead instead of just winging it.
Yeah. I love that. I think winging it is something that our youth is doing often. And then I feel like you're putting structure around. I mean, really, truly goal setting means that you have a plan to change behavior to reach.
That's right.
A specified result.
The truth is that winging it is not just what our youth are doing. I think there are a lot of people that are winging it. Mm-hmm. And I had a client today, as a matter of fact, a career client, last day of our coaching time together, which is both. It was a gut-wrenching day because I have many great clients. All my clients are great in different ways. But my last day with one of my clients today, as we were ending the year, and we ended the year with him pulling together a personal development plan. And it was the byproduct of me asking him, what is your goal? What is your word for the year? Mm-hmm. And he said, my word for the year has to be growth. For 2024, my word for the year has to be growth. He's young, early careerist, has an undergraduate degree in public health, a master's degree in public health, and he's looking for his next opportunity and was never taught how to appropriately manage his career. Mm-hmm. And so we've spent 90 days working together, building skills, doing a number of things. And it made me so proud when I said, what do you want to work on today? And he goes, I want to show you my growth plan.
Oh, I love it when that happens. When the client's like, I just want to tell you all of the wonderful things that are going on, and let me show you what I've done.
He did. Yes. Yeah. So he'd gone to Canva, and he had pulled out a multi-page PowerPoint deck, and he had established his 4 growth priorities. And by Saturday, we set a goal of he was going to have in place all of his actions that he was going to take over the year, outlined them by month. Again, this sounds familiar. He was going to be able to take those monthly goals and set them into weekly activities and hold himself accountable for his growth and for personal growth in 4 specific areas over 2024. I just looked at him with tears in my eyes and said, I am so proud of you. Because when we first met 90 days ago, he was just lost. And it's not because he wasn't motivated. It's because he didn't know what he didn't know.
Right.
And that's a very proud moment as a coach, as I'm sure you know, because you've coached a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's a very proud moment when the apprentice doesn't need you anymore, mm-hmm. right? And they have come to every coaching session having done everything you've asked them to do, and you're starting to see that they got it. Like, they got it.
Well, progress happens when the work is done.
Progress happens when the work is done, and he's created lots of momentum through daily action. Mm-hmm. Lots of momentum through daily action. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned over time, is that it's in the incremental daily actions where monumental momentum occurs. And
okay, do you have an example of something that's really simple that people could add into their, like, a daily thing that someone could do that would have this monumental result?
I do. Yeah. So, have you ever read the book Atomic Habits?
Not yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah. So I have many books that have informed a lot of the behaviors that I encourage clients to do on a daily basis, and that's mm-hmm. one of them. And when you study really productive and successful people, mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that they're smarter.
Right.
It's that they may be, but that's not necessarily the thing that makes them more successful. It is lots of times in the ways in which they begin their day. Mm-hmm. The ways in which they begin their day. And so whether it's at night before you go to bed or in the morning when you wake up, it's really with great intention writing down mm-hmm. what are your priorities today. You may not get to them. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know that just stuff happens. Our right. days get hijacked. But if you go into the day with intention of what the priorities are going to be, you're much more successful than if you don't. Like, that's something really simple. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's a lot these days, there's a lot in social media about physical, like getting your chemical and your physical person in place, or in a space where you can be ready for the day. If something as silly as, I do this every day now. I'm a big coffee drinker. Mm-hmm. But something as simple as making certain that you drink 8 ounces of water before you ever drink a cup of coffee or something else for the day. Because water is necessary in our chemical balance.
It's like the first thing you need when you wake up.
It's the first thing that you need. And it's not a sip of water. It's
replenishing what you've lost.
That's right. That's right. And it's cold, really cold water on your face. Really cold water or a cold shower. I can't do cold showers.
I can do it for 30 seconds.
Oh, my girl.
But I choose not to, because apparently I don't like it very much.
I cannot do a cold shower. I've tried it. I cannot do a cold shower, but cold water on your face. And there's just something about...
I do like cold water on my face, though.
Well, and I'm talking about, like, being real intentional about the fact that I'm going to take cold water and I'm going to put my face in, like, cup your hands, put your face in it. And so if you have 2 to 3 to 4 specific things that you do in the morning and do them routinely every morning, I guarantee you it will make a difference in the way in which you approach your day.
I always say you got to start your day with purpose and end your day with praise.
Say that again.
Start your day with purpose and end your day with praise. If you start your day intentionally with a purpose, and I like the idea of writing down your priorities for that day.
That's right.
Or doing things that just put you in a better mental, physical, or emotional state.
Yeah.
Or maybe even spiritual, depending on who you are and what your values are. But starting your day purposefully. And that's something that I've I've really tried to implement in my life is that I'm going to start every single day with intention and with purpose and with value. I'm not going to waste my morning. And then evenings, you end your day with praise. You've got to self-evaluate, but not from a point of being critical, but more from a point of what did I accomplish? What were my successes? What were my aha moments today? What am I grateful for? So then you're either praising yourself, you're praising the Lord, or something to where you're ending your day praiseworthy.
Gratitude is an amazing thing, isn't it?
I'm grateful for you.
You know, girl, let me tell you something about gratefulness about with friendship. I mean, you and I we've been there in some really important times. You've been there for my girls, and I cannot tell you how thankful I am for that. You've been there for my children. You've helped my children to grow, but then you've been there for me. And we've been there for each other. And
I was about to say,
yeah,
you've been there for me.
We've been there for each other. And what is interesting about that is that I've not always had close female friends.
I actually feel that. I have had very few really close friendships.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
I can walk in a room in a lot of different spaces and know a lot of names and hug a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when I walk away, they know what I do.
But they don't know who you are.
But they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And which is really, it's almost disheartening sometimes.
Tell me why. Tell me why people don't know who you are.
I mean, I think they know me based on what I show.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's only those few people that you actually let in.
Yeah.
That you open up to and that you allow to see the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And you allow in the trenches with you. And so but I think I think it's okay to have a small, tight circle. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, and I've had a really tight circle. I've had a small and really tight circle for a long period of time that's been consistent. I've been fortunate when it comes to that. Now I am getting to the age of my life where, losing some of those people, not because we're not friends anymore, just because their life has come to an end, and that's just the nature of the cadence of life. But I have been really fortunate to have had some folks that are in my corner that have taught me as much as I teach other people. There are people that have been there that have been willing to pour into me and invest in me and teach me lots of things along the way too.
So speaking of, I feel like we're heading to like defining moments.
Oh, defining moments.
So what is a defining moment
Yeah.
that's happened in your life that's made a significant impact?
Gosh.
I mean, I think you could go a million directions with this, but.
Well, not only a million directions, but there's been a number. I call these pivot points.
I like that.
And when I work with clients, we talk a lot about pivot points because they're super important when you look back at your life and you look at the pivot points and the magnitude of impact that they have had on your life. Some pivot points are going to have on a scale of +5 being the most impact, most positive impact, to -5 being the most negative impact. There's a wide range in there, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had them all. I've had many +5 impact moments and many -5 impact moments. And they've really shaped who I am. But when I think about there's the obvious. Like the death of my grandfather, who I grew up with right down the road. I mentioned I'm on a farm. I'm from a farming family. Farming families are just tight-knit people. Mm-hmm. The death of my grandfather was a really big pivot point. There's the obvious, but then there's the not so obvious. And one of the not so obvious pivot points in my life, moments of impact, was many years ago. I was about to board a plane from Raleigh, North Carolina to Dallas, Texas, and it looked like an otherwise routine visit to my parents. I was probably 30. I was my age. I wasn't young, and I can still see it, a moment in time. I was standing at the airport. This was back in the day when people could actually go into the airport at the gate and say
right.
goodbye to
you
you
could
at the
hug
gate.
your people right before you walked
people.
on your plane.
You could hug your people. And so at the time that I was about to get on the plane, my then boyfriend, who is my now husband, his name is Russ, he was there with me. And it's important to know that the otherwise normal looking trip home just to visit my parents was actually for me a trip to go home and share with my parents that Russ, the man that I was in love with, was a black man. And I was standing at the airport at Raleigh-Durham International, and I was standing at the gate. And before I said goodbye to Russ, he looked at me and he said, Kelli, when you get there, if you can't do it, I'll be okay.
Aww.
And while I appreciated the affirmation, what I knew exactly at that moment is me going home to share with my family that Russ was black was not about Russ.
Right.
That it was about Kelli and Kelli's values. And I said that to him. I looked at him and I said, Russ, I appreciate that, but this isn't about you. This is about me. And so that was a moment when I really came face to face with my own growth and my own evolution within the context of the way in which I viewed race and ethnicity and what my values were and what my values were not. And so that has really shaped. That was more than 30 years ago.
How'd that trip go?
Yeah, well, not. So I would say that trip did not go as hoped, but that trip did go as expected.
Okay.
Let me just say it that way. I had fears about what would happen on that trip, and it's not because it's not because my parents were not amazing people. They were. And it's not because my parents were racist. It's because my parents were the product of a world in which they were raised. And I never questioned my parents' love for me. Never a question at all. But what I was clear about was how my parents felt because it had been taught to me as a child, right? And when I left home to go to college and then went to undergrad and to grad school and evolved and became my own person in my worldview, developing my own worldview, it's not that I didn't value what my parents taught me. It's that I just created new values for myself. And I still love my parents, and regardless of how they felt about the choices I knew that I was making. It was rough. It was rough, Heather. It was a rough weekend. And I remember the moment that I shared with my mom that Russ was black. And there was lots of anger over the weekend. There was lots of sadness. There was lots of disappointment. There were microaggressions. There was unconscious bias. I mean, throw all the stuff at it.
Right.
That weekend was full of all of it. So much so to the point that in that weekend, when it came time for me to go back to the airport, to fly back to Raleigh to be with Russ, because I can't recall at the time if we were living together or if we were just living in the same city. I think we were living in the same city. But they couldn't take me to the airport. And we lived an hour and a half on a ranch away from Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport.
So they would not take you to the airport?
They couldn't. They couldn't.
Because they didn't want you to go back to him? Or what was the...
I probably.
Wow.
But they just couldn't. And so, there were no taxis.
There was no Uber. There was no Lyft.
Uber. There was no Uber.
How'd you get to the airport?
Yeah. So at the time, my brother was married to his first wife. And I picked up the phone and I called her. Again, they lived on the family compound. Mm-hmm. I called her and I basically said to her, I think you're the only one that can get me back to the airport. If it doesn't cause conflict in your marriage, would you be willing to take me back to the airport? Wow. And she did. And it was a long airplane ride home. Mm-hmm. It didn't change my love for my parents. It didn't change my love for Russ. Right. But there was a lot of uncertainty about the journey ahead. Mm-hmm. That was for sure.
Well, it sounds like you chose well.
We chose well. So Russ and I are married.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Russ and I are married. And
how long did it take before your parents
I knew that question was coming.
Opened their hearts to Russ?
Yeah. Well, Russ's version of this story may look a little different than mine because we all remember it from our own worldview, right? But I can tell you that we dated for 5 years before he proposed. And when he proposed, I told him I'm my father's only daughter, and this is the only time that my father is going to have the opportunity to be asked for my hand in marriage, because I'm not doing this. I hadn't done it before, and I'm not doing it again. Yeah. And so I told Russ that I would refrain from saying yes until he talked with my dad.
Oh, wow.
And so he picked up the phone and he called my dad and asked for my hand in marriage, and that call also did not go well. But Russ gained my dad's respect. Mm. And 6 months later, Russ and we planned a wedding in North Carolina because we didn't think there was a reason to have a wedding in Texas. We weren't sure if anyone would come. Mm. And our entire infrastructure was in Raleigh, where we both lived at the time. And my parents ended up coming to the wedding and both walking me down the aisle and giving me away. It almost didn't happen, though. Mm. It almost didn't happen. The reason why what got them over the hump was that my mother's sisters, who are all now deceased, picked up the phone and called my mother and said, you have to be there for Kelli, and we're going to go with you, and we're going to be there for you. Now, mind you, they were all older than even my mother. Mm-hmm. So with the exception of, there was a baby sister, my mother, and then 2 older sisters, which I thought was a tremendous, like, that in and of itself was a part of the process of the entire family. Mm-hmm. Embracing this new situation that Russ and I were presenting to our families. And it wasn't long after that wedding and everything that they could have imagined that the wedding was going to be was not, mm-hmm. right? We had 200 people at our wedding. It was at a beautiful chapel. It was a beautiful celebration of our love, and we had so many friends that were there. So many friends. They saw the love and support that we had. And it wasn't too long after we got married that we got pregnant, because I was older. And when Taylor, our firstborn, came along, my mother was the first one to come and be with us. And I think it was when she started to see that it was going to be okay, that we were going to be good parents, mm-hmm. that it hasn't been perfect. I mean, there've been things that have happened in our lives because of our choices, but it wasn't as awful as they imagined that it could be. And again, based on their history. I mean, my mom and dad were born in the 1930s. Right. You know, the world was a different place back then mm-hmm. than it was when we got married in 1997. It's been a while. Nice. It's been a while.
That's so beautiful, though.
It is.
The fact that people, and I think what my takeaway from your story is that, number one, you have to trust what you know your values are. Even if it may upset someone who's very close to you, if it's your values, you've got to follow that. Yeah. Secondly, those who really are close to you that really want what's best for you, they'll come around in the end.
It requires,
possibly, I guess not everybody does.
Not everybody does. Case. Not everybody does. And I give my parents a lot of credit because they were willing to grow. Mm-hmm. They were willing to grow. Now, Russ taught me a lot through all of this as well. Russ is an amazing human being that knows what it's like to be discriminated against in ways that I don't. Like, I sit in a seat of privilege just because of the color of my skin. And I recognize that. And so I've been able to I was able to experience that process through his eyes. And he never wavered. He always said to me, their reaction, Kelli, isn't about me. It's about their life experiences leading up to now. And I think that in that, what I learned is oftentimes that the experiences that we are the talk about microaggressions and all those things that we are getting from other people is a reflection of them and their experiences, and not a reflection of the people that they are trying to pin it on, like, or throw those things to. Does that make sense?
I think that's so huge, because I think a lot of times we are automatically assuming
that's right.
that we're taking offense to something that someone is doing because we feel very much attacked.
We do.
And they may intend it that way. However, it's about them, not you. Yeah. And if your heart is pure and your intentions are pure and you know that you're doing the right thing at the right time, then someone who has a problem with it, they're the ones with that problem.
That's right.
You still treat them with grace.
And that's part of what Russ did with my parents. He treated them with so much grace, and which is what I was attracted to start with, right? Now, there was a time when my mother said, I don't question the man that he is, because I know that you would choose a great man. What I'm worried about is the way in which the world will treat you.
And
which was fair.
That's fair.
Which was fair.
Especially at that time. I think that's fair. In the 90s, I think it's fair. However, if someone doesn't start the journey, then everything stays the same.
Well, and some of your listeners right now may be wondering, why in the world are you guys even talking about this? Because there are so many interracial couples now. This is not a thing, right? I don't think that what folks will understand that are in the younger generation today is that in the 1990s, this was not as common. And I was just loving who I wanted to love, and looking at the values that I thought was going to make for a great life partner. Now, having said that, Russ and I are as different as we can be on as many criteria or characteristics that marriage counselors will say.
Oh, I understand.
Right?
Well, my husband and I are opposites. I want to say almost we have the same skin tone, but that's about it. Like, everything is opposite.
I mean, we are about as different as it can be. And with all of the things that one would say makes for, like, successful marriage partner over time, we probably should not be married today.
But do you have the same values?
That's what connected us.
I think when you're looking for it, I think what we started this whole journey was on really support systems and like who your support people are.
Yeah, that's right.
And your most important support person is going to be the one that you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your spouse if you're married. It's going to be, your parents if you still live at home. And at the end of the day, it's that core value and being able to agree on the things that are those non-negotiables.
So when I work with my clients, my college and career clients, I talk with them about these non-negotiables. Like, when you're looking for a college experience, or when you're looking for what your daily career experience is going to be, what's non-negotiable for you? Had a career development client that's part of the LGBTQ community. And I started off asking, how important is that to you that the culture be supportive of the LGBTQ plus community? And this client started off saying, well, it'd be nice. And we actually had to work on.
Like, how important was that for them?
Like,
Yeah.
like, can I really test? Would it just be nice, or do you authentically want to show up at work every day as who you are, being valued for who you are, and knowing that's embraced? And so it went from that would be nice to that's a non-negotiable.
That's non-negotiable.
Yeah, to that's a non-negotiable. And that, to me, that's a beautiful thing when you can, and it also, because of what I've been through, like I can, I don't even have to talk to clients about what should be non-negotiable or why you should establish what your non-negotiables are. I've lived my non-negotiables, right? Like I had the courage to, and it took a lot of courage, but it took the support of Russ too, to present my parents with this, and we presented his family with this too. It wasn't any easier on the other side. And to give them the time and the space and the love to make the choice to come along with us on the journey, because it's a beautiful journey. And a lot of people have grown as a result of that. And it's, all we ever wanted to do was just love who we wanted to love and have a great family. And we have had all of those things. There's been bumps along the road, but we've had all those things.
Well, I've been blessed by your family. I've been blessed by your daughters. I've been blessed by you. I want to thank you so much for all of your time and your input and your expertise. Like this episode, if you do, share it with a friend. I hope that you enjoyed getting to know Kelli a little bit more. I know that I did. And we're going to spend a little bit more time digging into some of her really strong takeaways about her career, maybe talk also about pageantry a little bit. So join my Patreon channel so that you can get to know even more. We're going to have a message for women, and we're going to have a message for pageant people as well. Thanks.